Artery health depends on your diet, and you can make the biggest difference in the entire world with the health of your arteries, bringing down the inflammation, lowering your blood sugar, improving the cholesterol in your bloodstream as well, all through what you eat. Yeah, you are what you eat. There I go. I said it, Dr. Dansinger. We have Dr. Dansinger here with us. We have quite a few folks who have questions today. Dr. Dansinger on artery health. Any quick tips, as we head in, anything on your mind before we get into some of the questions, and also an update for you from someone we had on last week. We had Becky on last week, and she sent us an update that I'm going to share.
Okay, great. So you said it, you are what you eat. Let's dive right in.
And I have some good news for you that we ended up doing our cooking show, Patty's Plate, just on Friday with snow peas and with shrimp. And oh my goodness, it was incredible. We put in some raw ginger with some high polyphenol olive oil, some cayenne pepper, a little bit of coconut aminos. But we were wondering what you thought of the coconut aminos. Do you think they're okay? We got the low sodium mind.
Oh, absolutely. That's a great condiment. My mouth is watering just thinking about that recipe with the
Shrimp.
with the shrimp and the vegetables.
Yeah, we have Lisa here. Lisa, that sounds really good, doesn't it?
Yes, I love shrimp.
And it was so easy. It took us less than 30 minutes to, saute the shrimp and saute the snow peas. And we added some mushrooms to it because I had some mushrooms left over
Mm.
in the fridge. Our chef Eric, who works with us on Patty's Plate, ended up adding in some water chestnuts, and I added in some pine nuts for a little extra pizzazz. And then what really topped it off that was amazing? It was a little lemon zest. He took a bite and he said, I think it needs something. And he added a little lemon zest. So I thought that was interesting. That might be something you want to try.
Great tip. Thank you.
Okay, so I'm trying to find Becky's comment that she had in here. And while I'm looking for it, why don't we bring in Lisa to begin? She has quite a few questions for you, Dr. D.
Well, the
Great.
first one was what type of diet should we be on? Should we be on a keto diet or Mediterranean diet? And what should our macro goals be for the day as we age?
Yeah, I love that question. So it's such a simple question with such a complicated answer. So 25 years ago, I tried to answer that question using research. And so if you allow me to give the long answer, which is the correct answer to your question, I wanted to know what's the best diet. And so I was in a special opportunity to try to answer that question. And at Tufts University, which is a nutrition research powerhouse, I was able to conduct a randomized controlled trial to try to answer the question. And I had 160 study participants who were randomly assigned to one of four very different eating strategies: the very low carb Atkins diet, which is keto, or a moderate carb diet. We used the zone diet. We could have used South Beach diet or Sugar Busters or any of the moderate carb eating plans at that time. We used the Weight Watchers, which was a moderate fat, and we used a very low fat vegetarian eating plan called the Ornish diet. And so we um, ran lab tests over the course of a year and wanted to see what happened to cardiovascular risk factors: weight loss, abdominal fat, liver enzymes, cholesterol, insulin, glucose, hemoglobin A1C. And what we found, and this made all the newspapers in 2005, was that there was no best eating plan. We found
Mm.
it was a four-way tie. And that was very important information at that time. No one had really done quite a research study like that before. And it was eye-opening for a lot of experts that that the best research showed that there are many good eating strategies and there's no one best answer for everybody. And since that time, there have been bigger and better research studies, but they all find the same thing. The science is very clear. There's no one best eating strategy for everybody, but for individuals, there's definitely an eating plan that might be the best one. So I compare it to colors of the rainbow. We live in a world where there's lots of, colors. There's no one best color, but everyone can have a favorite that might be the best match for them. So to 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 give you the shorter answer to your question, the best eating strategy needs to be personalized. It needs to depend on your food preferences and your medical situation and your temperament. Some people do well with something that's more extreme. Others do well with something that's a little bit more mainstream and moderate. And so my patients I have a variety of different patients on different eating strategies. The one that's most effective and common is what I would call a moderate carb eating plan, something that embraces a wide range of vegetables and fruits and lean proteins, and it's more strict about starches. And so the macronutrients are usually about a third, a third, and a third. A third of the calories coming from carb, let's say 100 grams a day or 80 grams a day of carbohydrate, 100 one third of calories from healthy fats, and one third of calories coming from proteins. That's a pretty protein forward eating plan. And so you get those macros by focusing on vegetables and protein mainly, and a
Hmm.
moderate amount of fruit, and keeping treats to about 10% or less of what you're eating. And that's been my most popular and overall most effective on average.
It's funny she asked that question because today we had several questions in on diets I'd never heard of. One, the biblical diet, another one, the portfolio diet. On it was one that was recommended to her for lowering cholesterol, incorporating soy protein, plant cereals, nuts, and
Yeah.
soluble fiber into your meal. And then there was another one. So did I mention, okay, the portfolio, the Nordic diet as well? I don't know if you've heard of that. And then this one's my favorite, the ice hack diet, which I had never heard of. So it's based on the idea that cold exposure speeds metabolism and helps burn calories. And when I was looking it up, I couldn't find research that really supported that as much. And I didn't even know there was such a thing, but I was asked about it and thought it was ironic that Lisa had the question about what is the best diet. And we had all of these questions about these specific diets that are new to me.
And I
So
haven't heard of any of those.
No.
yeah, if you'd like, I can talk about those. But the main point I'm making is when you follow a set of rules, like all eating strategies have a set of rules. And as long as the eating strategy is not outrageously wrong, then, I mean, some eating strategies are just crazy, but most of them are fine. And what makes them effective is they have a set of rules. And if you're following a set of rules that is, nutritionally, reasonable, then that's better than what most Americans are doing, which is eating kind of willy-nilly. And so the short answer to your question is focus on vegetables and proteins and a moderate amount of fruit, but really needs to be personalized to you. Would you like me to talk about the Nordic diet and the portfolio and biblical diets?
Would you mind? It
Yeah.
seemed like the biblical diet was just going back to the biblical days where it was just almost, I felt like it was almost a paleo type of diet, but
I wonder if that one is the like the 21-day Daniel fast,
That one I don't
which
know,
is,
but
that one I don't know either.
let me
oh,
start with
really?
the
Mm-mm. Go ahead, Dr. D.
Let me start with the portfolio diet, which, if I recall correctly, is a very high fiber, whole foods diet, which is vegetarian, if I recall correctly, and would focus on a ton of vegetables. It would embrace the whole range of fruits, and it would beans and nuts and um, so you would be getting most or all of your protein from vegetarian sources. I think you would have over 50 grams of fiber per day, and that eating strategy is excellent for health improvement, including diabetes. The problem with it is it's very extreme. It's a very challenging eating plan to follow, especially for non-vegetarians. And so it's a big adjustment, but if you can adhere, it's excellent. And so there's that.
And step one foods is actually really helpful for that one, I would imagine, because they promote plant sterols as being a big part of lowering cholesterol.
Yes. And then the Nordic diet, I'm imagining what they would eat in previous decades, especially up in the Nordic European countries like Finland, um, Sweden, Norway, Iceland, for example, and they would have
Yes.
proteins, the farming. So you would have, I believe, you'd have lamb, beef, pork, and a whole range of vegetables, and especially the kind that grow well in the northern latitudes. So root vegetables. And so I think salmon and beets would be a great example of something on the Nordic diet. You would have dairy on that. And so that's more of a moderate carb eating plan that would emphasize vegetables, a narrow range of fruits, because so berries would be prominent on that. And then, my lunch today is a perfect example of a Nordic diet. So what I had was beets and pickled red cabbage and
Mm,
low-fat Greek yogurt and wild salmon and mushrooms, and that's a perfect example of a Nordic diet.
That sounds really good, actually. It also had mentioned something about rapeseed oil, and it's a seed oil, and I was told that
yep.
no seed oil is really good oil.
Rapeseed and canola is one and the same.
Oh,
And
okay.
so how you feel about canola oil is how you would feel about rapeseed, but grapeseed is sounds similar but is different. So
Okay, Lisa, what other questions you got?
Oh, I'm drinking a lot of beet juice. Is this really doing any good? Because I'm torturing myself.
I really don't recommend beet juice. So beets are healthy. What I'm concerned about with beet juice is it's a big sugar load and there's no fiber in it. And so if, you know, beets have a lot of health properties, and I recommend eating them as a vegetable, not as a drink.
Any others, Lisa?
No, that's it.
Those are all the questions you have? What's one of the favorite go-tos for you, Lisa?
Oh, when I'm on, I do keto a lot, and but I have to be strict when I'm on keto. I can't be that dirty keto or lazy keto or anything. Um, Steak. So, and I like all the berries, and I'm trying to incorporate more vegetables in because remember I'm raising my grandson, so he's fighting me on the vegetables, and I'm not a big fan of vegetables, but we're trying.
What I suggest is at the beginning of the show, we talked about that stir fry and getting I'm not a big fan of chard at all, and I even forgot to mention that I cut up the chard really really small and I saute it in there, and when you add in, I'm gonna be honest, when you add in the raw ginger, you add in the coconut aminos, you add in a little bit of the cayenne pepper in there as well. Sometimes you can even squeeze a little bit of orange from a regular real orange in there, and it disguises all of the flavors. I mean, putting the mushrooms, putting even some spinach in there is really, really good. Some the snow peas, some green beans you can put in there, and you just don't taste it. Honestly,
Right?
I
And
cook
we
it on
are.
low.
We are gardening this year, so hopefully that will encourage him to eat what we grow. And I've never had char, but we're growing char this year.
But you know what you can also do for him is you can get zucchini noodles, or you can get a zucchini
Yep,
spiraler.
I have one.
Okay. And you can
Oh,
then
and I
put on
tricked him
regular
last
spaghetti
night.
sauce.
Last night I made zucchini bread. So he ate it.
See, those are good creative ways to do it. So that's fantastic. What about you, Douglas? Douglas, do you have a couple questions for Dr. Dansinger today?
Yeah, what that last question was a great lead into what I was thinking. I cut out Dr. Peppers, but I like water, but after a while, water just gets boring. So I've been adding these little droplets that change the flavored, but they seems to upset my stomach. But I also was wondering what you thought about the energy drinks and these protein drinks that you can buy. Are they really that good, or does that?
Great questions, Douglas. Thank you.
That's a
Um,
good question.
Water is the best beverage, but there's no taste to it. So some people want a little taste sometimes. So you're on to it. Yeah, a calorie-free beverage that has some flavor can work for a lot of people. And so some people use, you know, these flavored drops, but lemon, a little bit of lemon or lime and a sweetener like stevia can work really well. And so that would be one option. Um, Iced tea, unsweetened iced tea can work for a lot of people. Some people use um, little um, these little containers of flavoring, like Mio is one brand, and they have peach or punch flavored or lemonade. Those use artificial sweeteners like sucralose, for example. And so there's lots of debate about these artificial sweeteners. So that's a great question. Water is always the best. Now
What
these,
about like the breakfast drinks you can buy that
yeah,
they say substitute for having breakfast, but and you just
yeah.
drink this?
Okay, so there's these protein drinks, and a popular brand right now, for example, is Pure Protein. There's lots of if you go to the drugstore or the supermarket, there's a whole aisle dedicated to these, and you can get them online. Also, you can buy powder and add the liquid of your choice, which could be water or um, unsweetened almond milk, for example. So those I would put those protein drinks kind of in a middle ground. Yeah, I'll give them a B minus or maybe a B. And lots of my patients do use them because what I like about them is they're quick and easy. They're
Hmm.
usually low in carbohydrate, like 4 grams or less maybe. And then um, they do fill you up, and I think whey protein is a good example, probably the most common type of protein in there. They're usually about 160 calories or so. So those are all right. I mean, I would rather have people eating low-fat cottage cheese and berries or you know, yogurt and berries as a quick breakfast, or eggs or vegetables with protein as a quick meal. But as a backup, sometimes those protein shakes are good. I'm not a big fan of the energy drinks at all. They usually have stimulants in there, caffeine, for example. I don't think those are have any health role at all. And then what I think you asked one more thing, but I can't recall what it was. What's your follow-up question, Douglas?
Well, it, there's I don't know how to. I don't want to throw a hand grenade in anything, and but I have to. I
That's
don't.
what makes this show interesting. Throw it away. Throw it. Go ahead.
So if it's, I hope Kim's okay. Well, I'm gonna throw. I want to throw a hand grenade right now. Now I'm gonna be honest
You're
with
gonna
you.
don't make me
I can't
sorry.
reach you from California, so
Don't make me
So,
sorry. But if you have a controversial question, I'm
so here's the thing, Doctor Dazinger, is this all sounds great, but my thought is this: I live on a very strict budget right
yeah.
now, And all this sounds great, but can you imagine trying to live a month on $100 eating food? I can't eat like that, like I want to all
Yeah.
the time. Does that make sense? So
Yes.
it is tough for some of us right now. I had to buy a new truck. My truck died. I had to buy a new truck. So, but it's living on a very, very, very strict diet right now. And
Yes.
not being able to buy all the things that I know I need to buy to eat properly all month long.
That's one of the most important questions or comments that we can get. I mean, no one has extra money and food is getting more expensive. How to eat as healthily as possible? You want to enjoy your meals. You don't want to spend a lot of money on them. They need to kind of be quick and easy. And the good news is a lot of the healthiest foods are the most affordable as well.
Mhm.
So
It's just a matter of whether you like them or not.
Right.
but they are very expensive food. You know, I eat wild salmon, and not everyone can eat that on a regular basis. I sympathize with that. But you know, legumes and beans, for example, are
Yes.
really affordable. They're healthy, full of fiber and protein. Tofu, also very affordable source of. Not everyone likes tofu, right? But you know, it's one of the best proteins for, you know, the per dollar and
Yeah, and
canned
also at the
fish.
dollar store, there is lots of
Yeah.
nuts. You
Oh
can get
yeah.
raw
Yeah.
nuts at the dollar
Well,
store.
when I
And you can
did
get some
the
canned vegetables.
when I was doing the 21-day Daniel fast, I did a lot of lentils. Lentils are high in protein.
Yeah, so lentils are an important consideration. So there's on a keto eating plan, there's really no place for lentils.
Nope.
There's just too high in carb. But on a
Yep.
moderate carb diet, like most of my patients are doing, I rarely would steer someone away from lentils and other beans because they're so full of fiber. And yes, there's
Mhm.
starch in them, but they have protein and fiber. So they're a keeper.
Okay, and we have Carol who's here. Carol, you had a couple questions for Dr. D here. Do you want to jump in and ask your questions? I don't know if we can hear her. Oh no. I know she can hear us, but I think that you might want to try jumping in again, Carol, because I can't hear you. So um, I know we have Dawn Marie, who was just joining in right now, and Dawn Marie has a couple questions. So while Carol maybe gets her audio figured out, or Carol, you can text them in. Dawn Marie, do you want to ask your questions?
Yeah. So eggs, how good are they? And if so, how many can you eat in a day before it comes bad? And then what else can you add to eggs for like a meat other than chicken? Because I'm kind of tired of like chicken and eggs. Like I'll try to put the chicken different ways, like
Yeah.
like a chicken fajita omelet. But I mean, the best way I like it, of course, is with bacon, sausage, or ham. But we're not supposed to have that.
So great
And then
question.
how much protein is in an egg?
Okay, great questions. And so I'm a fan of eggs, and especially because breakfast options are limited when you're trying to steer clear of
Mhm.
starch. You know, I'm always trying to tell people, well, I don't, you know, for your diabetes, you know, steer clear of toast and bread and bagels and English muffins and pancakes and waffles and cereal. And they say, what can I eat? And of course, I start with eggs. And then they say, well, I get sick of the same old eggs. So there are
Yep.
many good ways to make eggs. Your question is how many eggs can I eat? And so
Yeah, because like I feel like for a snack, cardboard boiled egg is usually like what I like. I put a little bit of adobo, like a little tiny bit of adobo, and then I put tons of black pepper, and I just like cut it in half and pop it in my mouth and go. But like how many, like if I eat scrambled eggs in the morning, then I'm having hard
yeah,
boiled eggs because protein shakes do not fill me up. They
yeah.
do not. Like I can have the protein shake and then I can eat. So that's a problem for me. So that's not
Okay.
working.
All right. And then you might not like this answer. Um, I'd like to say something like, oh, the maximum is a dozen, and for many people, a week. And for many people, that's true. The concern with eggs is in the yolk because there's cholesterol and saturated fat in the yolk. And so it depends on the individual. How sensitive are you to saturated fat and cholesterol in the yolk? Now, I happen to be very sensitive to cholesterol and saturated fat. And so if I eat too many egg yolks, it definitely worsens my cholesterol level in the blood. What I like about eggs so much
Can I
is
ask you a question?
yes.
Because right there you said something I don't understand. So how do you
Okay.
know that it's affecting your cholesterol in your blood, like just from eating
Yeah.
them or blood tests? Like how do you know? Like is there a certain response?
Yeah. So it is. So I used to work for a blood testing company called Boston Heart Diagnostics, and one of their specialty tests was looking to help, a blood test to look to see how sensitive you are to dietary cholesterol and saturated fat, called the cholesterol balance test. Quest and LabCorp, I believe, do tests like that. And so it is possible to look
Oh,
for that. But when I did a keto diet, my cholesterol shot through the roof because I happen to be, a cholesterol hyperabsorber. So there are blood tests to look at that. So
Now, would
cholesterol
you
balance
be
test
able
is
to
one.
know that by your regular values? Because I know my
Yeah,
cholesterol is the levels of a newborn baby, and that's only because I
right.
know they're low because I'm on special regimens to keep them low
Hmm.
because I have heart disease,
Right.
had an
For
amputation, a lot going on. So
yes. So that's part of the reason why it depends on the person. I would say cholesterol lowering medications can help a person, avoid the excess cholesterol from egg yolks. So let's just call it, for most people, a dozen a week is probably the upper limit. I would not eat, 3 eggs a day every day. But having 3 eggs, every other or every third day, I think is perfectly good. So what other proteins can you mix with eggs? So some people add smoked salmon.
cottage cheese.
Yes, cottage cheese. I've done that many times.
I
Um,
can't, I can't.
right.
That's the one thing everybody always says since I
Yeah,
was young. And I look at it, it doesn't look
right.
appetizing to me. And when
When
I
you
That's
cook
how
taste
I
it,
it,
feel about eggs.
oh,
when
really?
you cook the cottage cheese in the eggs, it does change the texture entirely. But
Yes.
but so
So that will still give you
salmon,
protein even though it's
mhm,
heated up at that point? Because I know
yeah.
sometimes when you heat
Mhm.
stuff,
Yeah.
so the cottage, and it
No, no,
won't,
the
you won't
protein
taste the
stays.
cottage cheese, you promise me?
Mm-mm. I'll taste it.
Okay, maybe I'll
And there are
try
actually,
that.
you can go on YouTube and there are recipes for mixing like cottage cheese with dark chocolate, and you can make pudding with it. Yeah.
Throw some chia seeds
The
in there.
Yeah,
it
you
is
can put chia seeds in there too.
Because
there's
I've
no
been I've been losing weight, which is great, but I'm losing everything else, like the muscle tone, everything,
yeah,
just because I'm not eating the right stuff.
okay. It's possible to put hummus in scrambled eggs, or
Now you
uh,
mentioned beans,
yes,
refried beans. Is those
yes.
Mhm.
bad? Or is
If
that
they're
still low
if the,
sodium?
yeah, if they're not loaded with pork fat, then they're good. So some refried
Okay.
beans have a lot of lard in them, but others
Okay.
do
So
not.
you
And so
look at
you
the
want. Mhm.
instruction, like the
Yeah,
ingredients, I
look
mean,
at
for
the
that?
ingredients. Yes. So
Okay.
you can definitely mix beans and eggs. Not that many people do it, but more people probably would like to. And then some people put tofu in their eggs,
Well,
and any
I've
kind of
learned.
meat can work.
So they use it on a little tortilla, but I
Mhm.
actually don't care to eat it with the tortilla. I can eat it
Okay.
without, but you take a hard boiled egg and they cut it up and they add like a scoop of refried beans and sour cream. I don't know what it is. And they usually put it on a tortilla and eat it for breakfast.
Hmm.
But I just like it without the tortilla. So that's why I was thinking,
Yeah, and you can use low fat Greek yogurt instead of sour cream if you
Okay.
want to take it up a notch.
And I actually mix my egg in with celery and onions and some bell peppers. And I end up then putting it back into a little shell of the egg. I just do the yolk. And then I sprinkle some hemp seeds on it just for a little extra protein.
And you're saying it's not good to have eggs every day.
Depends on the person, but for the most part, I think a good rule of thumb is a dozen a week is kind of a max.
And what do you think about that cartons you can buy just the whites with?
Yeah, I would not limit egg whites at all. I think you can really go to town on the egg whites. It's mainly the yolks that limit, and so you
The
can
yolk is the best part. That's my favorite
Right?
part of
yeah,
the egg,
that's
to be honest.
understood. But
That's where
when
the
it comes to the
flavor is.
cartons of egg whites, you can really go to town. There's no limit on that. That's a good source of protein and it's got lots of health
So if I
benefits.
just suck out the yellow and just take the yellow out and not eat it, I can still eat more eggs. You'll still get the protein from it.
Yes, most of the protein
Okay.
is in the white actually, and you can add carton egg whites to regular eggs. A lot of people do that, and so they'll use one whole egg plus white from the carton because they want some of that yolk flavor in there.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, so just I know you're running here, but Carol wanted me to get in her question. She wants to know the effects of sugar. She has a terrible sweet tooth and what your favorite sugar is.
Great question. My favorite sugar. So, um, if we're not talking about stevia or artificial sweeteners like Splenda, then which I think are all less harmful than sugar itself, then we're talking about honey is probably my favorite one that's a true sugar. I like honey a little bit better than, say, brown sugar or sugar in the raw or even agave. So your body can barely tell the difference. Once it's sugar, and I think you know, honey is not that much better than high fructose corn syrup. If you really want to know, your body can barely tell the difference. So that's always look to minimize. It's the amount rather than the form of the sugar when we're talking about real forms of sugar.
Okay. And Dr. Danziger, just an update from Becky, who is on recently, youtube.com/the outside the way to my heart, or Michael Dansinger, MD. And you can see Becky's story. But she is so excited. She said at the time she was weighing about 189 pounds. Now she's down to 184. And what is this? In just a matter of a week? She did mess up her foot, so it's stalled out just a little bit, but she's still doing great. She only had one double cheeseburger, not the triple cheeseburger as she normally did. So, and since you've talked, she's been paying attention to what, how much, and protein amount she takes in daily. Checking the portions really helps. And she says, just an update from her. And let's see, she also, just for you, she included this step count. So look at those
Oh, look at
steps that
that.
she's
Wow.
been taking just for
Wow.
you. When I talked to her 2 days in a row, she called me and she was like, Dr. Danzinger is going to be proud, but look at this 5'5" on 5'7", 5'8", 5'9", 5'10", and look at those
Oh,
steps.
wow.
She's getting them in. So anyway, I thought you'd really enjoy that, but thank you. Goes to show how much you help so many of our PAD warriors. Thank you again, Dr. Danzinger, for joining us right here. And if you want to, anyone wants to join our live studio audience, always email us at info@padhelp.org. We would love to have you here in studio to ask questions. You can also join our YouTube. But if you are in New Hampshire or New York or Massachusetts or Virginia or Minnesota or Florida and you have Medicare and Medicare Advantage PPO plans, you can take advantage of his services and get one-on-one attention from Dr. D at Diabetes